Slaves had first been imported from Britain to Virginia in 1619. By 1776, 1 in 5 of Americans was black, and a very lucrative trade in slaves had grown, operated mainly by rich Northerners. Although slavery was abolished in 7 states after independence, it was retained in Maryland, Delaware, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. By 1819, the number of slave and free states was equal at 11 each, and as each state, regardless of size, had equal representation in the Senate, a fine political balance came to exist. However, the next few decades were to see the two groups drift inexorably and dangerously apart. Before long, the North, the home of the free states, and the South, the home of the slave states, had evolved into very distinct cultures and economies, and relations between them had deteriorated. An atmosphere of suspicion and mistrust, particularly in the South, came to exist between the two regions.
The trouble I've seen.
Some in the South, some politicians may have exhibited some jealousy because the North had been doing well as a result of the Industrial Revolution. The fact that most of the very large banking interests were in the North, a lot of the shipping and commercial interests were in the North. The fact that there were so many miles of railroads in the North, but the South, the people of the South had these opportunities too. And most in the South chose to remain with their way of life, which was based on that very agrarian and rural lifestyle. There were large cities in the South, don't get me wrong, and there was manufacturing in the South. But the North was doing well, was prospering in the decades of the 1840s and the 1850s.
There wasn't so much resentment over the North's economic prowess, particularly industrialization, but there was irritation in the South at attempts by the North or Northern politicians to pass legislation that they saw was beneficial only to the northern part of the United States, not the South. For instance, tariffs, rivers and harbors bills, and laws designed to support American shipping, the shipbuilding industry, because that was all tied up in the North. So generally, when you see the disputes over the North and the South, it does come down to this question of this industrializing North versus this largely agrarian South. And that was something Southerners did get very angry about.
The feeling that the South had somehow grown apart from the main U.S. economy was given further impetus by the sudden and dramatic rise in demand for cotton, particularly from the hungry textile mills that were booming as part of the Industrial Revolution in England. It was now that the institution of slavery began to pay rich dividends for the South, for its black American slaves provided virtually inexhaustible cheap labor. So much so that by 1861, the South's output of cotton had risen to a staggering 5 million bales per year. But the cotton success story was to have far-reaching effects, for the slave owners chose to reinvest their new wealth, not in agricultural machinery, but in more slaves and land. Very soon, the South's economy was entirely dependent on slave labor.